And hello everyone, Lights and Gear is back with another flashlight, and today I have one of the latest lights from the folks at Klarus, and they certainly have had some innovative products in the last couple of years, and this one is no exception, and it also has a very different name to it as well. When I saw this, I often wondered if that was the name, 360 times 3. This is a 3200 lumen light. It is tactical, and as you can see from the box here, it's omnidirectional, or has an omnidirectional dual switch rapid reaction system. So that's quite a mouthful there, being a rapid reaction tactical flashlight. I think this is certainly the first that I've ever heard named as such. But anyway, an entirely different naming process has gone into this one, and actually I believe they did have a 360 times 1 not long ago. So 360 would, I guess, be their latest series, if you will. So anyway, and there is a battery included, as you can see on the box here, as a lot of Klarus flashlights do include an 18650 battery, which is a nice touch. A little bit of information on the spine of the box here regarding thermal regulation. And on the bottom, you do have your standard info regarding outputs. And we can look at that in a moment, or we can do something about it quickly right here. One thing that might have caught your eye already, or maybe not, it has a CREE XHP70.2 P2 LED. So it does produce a nice beam. And XHP70s at the current time are about the best LED that flashlights have at the moment. At least an XHP70 light tends to be more expensive than most other LED types. So, as I say, at this time, that's the way it is. Obviously, that will change as time goes on. And 3200 lumens is the top output on this light. High is 400, medium is 100, low is 15, and it has strobe and SOS. So we'll get a bit more in-depth with this information coming up. Beam intensity you have there. Your beam distance is about 283 meters on turbo. It is impact resistant to 1 meter, and it is waterproof to IPX8, submersible to 2 meters. So anyway, let's get the box open here so we can have a peek. Here's the instruction manual, which has been well thumbed over by yours truly, of course, so it isn't exactly in the same crease that I got it in. But here's the front page in English. And here is the flashlight. And this little box here has the accessories, which I will open up. There's these are pretty standard, of course, for most flashlights. You do have a nice Velcro sheath in here, or belt clip. And inside, you have the other accessories, which include your USB charging cable. In this case, it is not a USB-C, but a standard charging cable. And your little packet of accessories right here, if they are willing to come out, which does include your lanyard, and a couple of spare O-rings, which is also quite standard. And even in the this light has a couple of nice little touches, including what they've done even inside the belt holster here. If you can see on the bottom, it has like this little cup. So this is not removable. And when the flashlight obviously is inside the holster, it has a little cup to sit in at the bottom so it doesn't wriggle around. Never seen that before. It is somewhat unique, I think, for those of you who really like holsters. And, you know, there you go. You have a nice holster. So, flashlight is exactly 6 inches long, just about no more, no less. It is highly tactical. And one of the first, if I have any complaints about this light, and if you've seen any of my other videos, it is that I happen to like lights that tail stand, and obviously this can't for no reason in the world. So without it tail standing, it takes away some of the ability that I normally use a flashlight for. But that's me. So that's the way I look at it, as one strike against it for not having a tail stand capability. But some people like a truly tactical flashlight, and this is it. So there's your takeaway for that. Anyway, elsewhere on the flashlight, you have the pocket clip already attached, but of course you can take that off. Here's your side switch, and you have pretty aggressive knurling here, all rubberized, so there's no chance of dropping this, even if your hands are wet. And you have some fins here for cooling. The head, as you can see, is larger than the body, so it has a nice uniformed wide beam. It is orange peel within the reflector, so the beam is not terribly focused. It has a nice ratio to it, which I do appreciate. And the LED way down deep inside is your XHP70. And here are your switches. It has 3 switches. 1, 2, and 3. A lot of Klarus lights these days have 3 switches, but this one is unique, and this is where it gets its name from. This is where it gets its omnidirectional rapid reaction tongue twister name from, regarding this ring around here. This is what they call, this is of course the side switch, this is the primary switch, and this is the mode switch. So it may not look like a switch, but it is. It's the mode switch. Now there are also 2 operating settings to the light. Oh, let me take the tail cap off, which I haven't done yet, at least not in this video. I've taken it off in for my own personal use, but haven't shown you folks it yet. Here's of course the spring in the cap, nice threading in there, and there is quite nice, this is nice threading here along the bottom. I have not greased it yet since its arrival, but it's not too bad. Here's the battery, which it does come with. So it does come with a 3100 mAh IMR 18650 battery, and of course it is rechargeable, and I did show you the USB charging cable. So and there is a small spring up here in the head as well, or in the tube. So anyway, let's put the cap back on. And as I was explaining before, a lot of Klarus flashlights have 3 switches these days, but this is quite unique. And to turn it on, oh, that's what I was explaining before, was the two modes. So you have the 2 operating systems, and I believe the default is the tactical setting over here, and then you've got the outdoor setting. And the outdoor setting is what I usually prefer on some of these programmable lights, since I don't usually need tactical all that often. And for the most part, there's a lot of it which is exactly the same. In other words, the side switch here does the same things on no matter which setting it's on. It's identical, which is kind of helpful. But it takes a little bit to go through this, but I'll just basically run through it as far as the outdoor setting is concerned. If you want to look at the tactical setting in more detail, you can check out my written review at lightsandgear.com, where I have everything spelled out. But I'll go through it here on the outdoor setting, which is where I have it. And to change it, to go back and forth between the 2 settings, is also quite simple. So anyway, as I say, it does have a nice beam, and the way it's set up right now, if you give the rear switch just if you momentarily press the rear switch, you will get turbo mode. And I believe that is the same whether no matter which setting it's in. The rear switch gives you momentary turbo, and then of course you can click it in once you press it down, and of course then you've got complete turbo. Now the side switch over here, of course, will turn it on in the same fashion, and all you do is give that a small click, A holding press turns it off, but a short click turns it on, and then of course you can cycle through the modes that way. And through the standard switches, the modes go from highest to lowest, so it goes from turbo to low and back again. But if you're changing them via the mode switch down here on the bottom, it goes in the opposite direction. It'll go from low to high that way. So whichever way you prefer, or whichever way you like your light selection to go, you can do that. So, and again, as I say, to turn this off, you give it a holding press. And then you've also got strobe and SOS, of course, and that can be instantly accessed from pretty much anywhere. Of course, when it's off, just double-click the switch and you'll get the strobe, and then double-click it again and you'll be in SOS, which is not nearly as bright as the strobe is, and then a single click will turn it off. Now, as far as the mode switch is concerned, this is a little different, as I say, from any other third switch that I've seen. And pretty much if you press it, doesn't really matter where you press it, you will get instant light. And in this particular setting here, the mode switch, when pressed, will give you instant low. So instant low like this from the mode switch. And what I have noticed is what it just did. Sometimes it seems kind of sensitive. And although I was pressing it momentarily, which is supposed to give you just low as long as you're just pressing and releasing. But during that sequence, which I was just doing, it started sequencing through instead of giving me just simple low. See? So this is where it's going from the lowest to the highest, whereas before it went from the highest to the lowest. So this time it's going low, medium, high, turbo, just by giving the ring a little press here. Now this ring is quite tough, and you do have to give it a fair amount of force to get it to change, which of course is designed like that, I guess, so it doesn't make too many false switches if you have it sitting somewhere in a pocket or in a bag or something like that. So all of these switches, except for the side switch, needs a fair amount of force on them to get them to work. And however, if somebody with arthritic hands or fingers were using this, I think they'd have a serious problem with these buttons. That is, if their hands or fingers aren't too nimble and tend to hurt. This would not be a good light for them. But this switch works either way, and I almost found that it works quite as well too by holding it on each side like this and pressing the button. Of course, that requires a little bit more of dexterity, I suppose, but I found it does work reasonably well that way, and it seems to not run away with the mode as much with two fingers on it as opposed to one. And so there are many ways to operate the light, as you can see. And if you have one of these other lights, or rather if you have one of these other switches already engaged, or I know what it is, if the tail switch is engaged, the light will not turn off from the side switch. If the tail switch has been turned on and you go to turn it off via the side switch, it won't turn off. It'll just flash at you like that. So the only way to turn it off in that case is to click the tail switch again. So that's one little quirk. So let's, and the USB charging, of course, is right here. So attach the USB charger to charge the battery, 18650 only. Of course, the battery's in the light. It will take all the other appropriate sizes as well as an 18650. You can use two disposable CR123s, or two 16340s rechargeable, or two 18350 rechargeable. So you can use any size or combination, well, not combination, but two of the others and one 18650. But the charging element, of course, only works with the 18650. what I was going to say here a second ago, I just suddenly forgot. So I did mention the USB, which I meant to do. Oh yes, that's the light around the switch. That's what I forgot. Let me turn off a light here. And basically, whenever you turn it on, you'll get the little indicator here, which is in effect the battery voltage meter. So if I turn this way down and turn this off, and actually I think I have another light on here, 1 second. So whenever you turn the light on for a few seconds, it'll light up. There's your green, which indicates a good strong battery. If the battery was, say, below, I believe it's about 70%, this will light up in orange. And then if it's lower than that, it'll light up in red. And then if you don't do anything about it and you still use it, the red will flash. And of course, that's the same indicator you get when you plug in the USB to charge it. When you plug it into charge, the indicator around the button will be red, and then when the charge is finished, it'll turn green. And if you want to see pictures of that, you can visit my Lights and Gear written review. But anyway, we are in the lowest mode right now. And one click will take us up to turbo. And if you can tell at all from the beam, it's a very, very nice beam. There's virtually no artifacts in this beam. It is very nice, very uniform, and the center spot is extremely bright. So here is turbo, and here's high, and here's medium, and here's low. And I'll show you some outdoor pictures here in a couple of seconds, and you can see more of those at my written review. So anyway, there are the outdoor shots. You can see more on my written review at lightsandgear.com. And I think it's a nice flashlight. Klarus does make a nice product, and the switch is very innovative, if nothing else. Much different than some of the other switches, which were more like a paddle switch that they have on the back end of a couple of their other models. So this one sort of starts a new trend, I suppose. But this is the strangely named 360x3 from Klarus. There is a purchase link below if you'd like to pick one up. And by visiting my website, there's also a purchase link there too. And of course, a lot more flashlights, batteries, and chargers at lightsandgear.com, and some more outdoor pics. So leave me comments or questions about this if you like. And we'll see you next time for more from lightsandgear.com. I do thank you for watching today regarding the Klarus 360x3. Take it easy.